What's up guys, Roman from R&S Entertainment here with this week's episode of Comic History, the show where we go over the iconic origins and storylines for all sorts of comic characters and series. In this video we're going to be talking about Deadpool vs. Carnage, the 4-issue miniseries where, well, Deadpool fights Carnage. This book is super fun and utilizes characters from both Carnage and symbiote mythos like Shriek and the Life Foundation symbiotes. Our story starts out with Carnage as Cletus Cassidy grabbing a bite to eat at a Kansas diner when an unknowing cop next to him starts talking about how if he came across this Carnage freak who had been murdering people, he would shoot first and ask questions later. Carnage stabs the officer through the face with the symbiote and then brutally murders the entirety of the diner, killing both people trying to stop him and innocent victims. Meanwhile, in New York, Deadpool is randomly channel surfing when he comes across reports of Carnage's rampage and decides to find a channel with more Kat Dennings. While flicking through the channels, each one flows into the next, giving Deadpool what seems to be a message from the writer, telling him that Carnage is not acting as randomly as he thinks, and that if Deadpool follows the wave of insanity, he can be the first person to track him down. Deadpool decides that since they're both crazy, they operate on similar wavelengths, and decides to set out to find and figure out Carnage. Walking into the street, Deadpool asks the universe to give him another sign, and then realizes he's surrounded by signs, but decides to follow a man carrying a dripping container of meat to a butcher shop, where he sees Carnage and a bloodstain on one of the workers' aprons, following him to an arcade where a video game mentions Maximum Carnage, one of Carnage's most well-known stories. Seeing a magazine about modern-day ghost towns and old housing developments, Deadpool deduces that that's the most likely place to look for Carnage for whatever reason, and we flash over to an abandoned housing development in Oklahoma where Cletus Cassidy is lounging around in his underwear thinking about how great it is to be a murderer. Talking to himself, he says that his recent adventures in Carnage USA and Minimum Carnage, both of which I'll be covering in future comic histories, were not who Carnage really is, that he's going to go back to full-blown random acts of chaos. At this point, a missile fired from Deadpool lands right behind Carnage and blows up the house, blasting Carnage to the ground. Deadpool strolls up with his sword and Carnage asks who wants to die before getting to his feet. They break out into a fight and Carnage says that he's got plenty of swords and may as well be a gun, firing out sharp bits of the symbiote and slashing at Deadpool. And after getting pinned, Deadpool shoves a grenade in Carnage's mouth. After the explosion, Deadpool starts to regrow his hand and talk some shit, telling Carnage that when it comes to crazy, Deadpool has him outclassed, and is suddenly hit in the face with a blast from Shriek, Carnage's wife from the Maximum Carnage storyline. Carnage stands up with Deadpool's face even worse than normal, and impales Deadpool, asking him again how he found him, and Deadpool just says he followed the clues. He breaks it down to Carnage that their kind of crazy is similar enough to be on the same vague cosmic wavelength, aka Deadpool's ability to break the fourth wall, leaving a trail of clues that Deadpool could always easily follow. This and Deadpool making fun of his country accent infuriates Carnage, who rants that everything he does is a random act, a tribute to the almighty chaos, and that he was going to make Deadpool suffer. Deadpool asks Carnage if he likes music and then blasts an amplified song to attack Carnage, knowing that sonic attacks work on Venom. He continues blasting the symbiote off of Cletus until Shriek attacks him again, destroying his speakers while Carnage stands up. Carnage says that sonic attacks can hurt him but not keep him down, and Deadpool throws some incendiary grenades which blow them both up. Deadpool celebrates his apparent victory until Carnage impales him from inside the flames, with Shriek lifting him into the air and escaping. After a run-in with a bandwagon Deadpool fan, which I won't go into because it's completely pointless, Carnage and Shriek are driving in a freshly stolen car with Shriek concerned that Deadpool could find them again, when they hear Deadpool's voice from a CB radio sitting in the back seat. They freak out looking for Deadpool, and he turns out to be in the giant construction equipment being carried in front of them, and he releases it from the truck to come barreling into the street, grinding into Carnage's car, destroying a few others, and bashing Shriek's head through the windshield. At this point, Carnage is pissed and leaps up, destroying the windshield and ripping Deadpool out, yelling out Carnage vs. Deadpool, round 2. The fight resumes with Deadpool slashing Carnage's throat with his sword and Carnage impaling him once again, saying it must hurt when he rips through his insides. Deadpool asks Carnage if he's ever had the experience of seeing the same time every time he's looked at a clock, and that chaos doesn't exist, it's an imaginary friend, and that the universe is always telling you something. Carnage says that's nice and all, but his ride's here, tossing Deadpool into the path of an 18-wheeler, which runs him over, spilling eyes and guts all over the road. Deadpool gets up to a group of shocked people and picks out words from each of their dialogue boxes until it reads, "The fight is not over. Find him. Stop him." He picks some other arbitrary words to figure out that the next clue is Mercury Team, and at this point Carnage has taken a family hostage to escape, and when one of the kids points out that Shriek is not in good condition, Carnage says that she's too mean to die, just like him, and after threatening each of the family members asks the dad where they were going, and decides to let them continue stopping at random roadside attractions, thinking that he would test out Deadpool's theory. Deadpool follows clouds and ketchup stains and other random signs that look like Carnage until he finds the ghost town that the family has stopped at. Deadpool finds the inside of the Suburban covered in blood and claw marks, saying that they aren't the same type of crazy after all, and that he'd never do that to random people. We see that Carnage and Shriek walk through the ghost town until Carnage sends the Life Foundation symbiotes beneath the ground, finding a hatch leading down to a covert base of the Mercury team, the human and dog hosts of the Life Foundation symbiotes, Riot, Agony, Phage, and Lasher. Deadpool notices that the town is way too clean to be a ghost town and reeks of military, as the Mercury team springs into action, running for their symbiotes as Carnage appears, instantly ripping them all to shreds, slicing most of them in half completely. Carnage searches for the symbiotes and Deadpool stumbles across their broken open holding tanks. While Deadpool is distracted looking for secret messages on the computer screen, Carnage appears behind him and slices his arms and legs off, then his head, then just keeps slicing until Deadpool is a pile of chunks on the floor, saying that he should thank Deadpool for leading him here and that maybe he was right about hidden masters leading them places, and that once he kills the other symbiotes he can return to enjoying his art. Carnage leaves Deadpool to die when he torches the place, and then the Life Foundation symbiotes, who have joined together and attached themselves to the dog, which apparently Carnage didn't kill, walk in and attach themselves to Deadpool, reforming him and feeling nothing but the desire to kill Carnage. Meanwhile, at the Carrington Cottage Psychiatric Hospital, which is missing a few letters and now reads Carnage Psycho, Carnage and Shriek have taken over and have all of the expert psychiatrists lined up, with Carnage having an existential crisis and demanding answers, demanding to know whether there were forces controlling him or whether randomness really exists. Carnage kills one of the doctors, saying that he'll go to every mental hospital in the country, killing everyone until he finds answers, and is then shot in the head by Deadpool Hybrid, who on top of his ordinary skill set has enhanced everything from being connected to the 4 symbiotes. Carnage calls Deadpool out and says to fight him face to face, and Lasher leaps into the room snarling at Carnage. Using Riot's speed and Agony's strength, Deadpool slashes Carnage again and again with no way for him to fight back. Lasher leaps at Shriek and she blasts it, watching it transform into Carnage as it bleeds on the floor, before the real Carnage walks up and tells her that it's just the symbiote shapeshifting to trick her. Shriek says that this might be the universe showing her signs of what's to come, and she runs out of the room fully freaking out. The body turns into Deadpool Hybrid and takes aim at Carnage, shooting him with multiple guns before using the symbiote to throw Carnage into a wall. Deadpool clearly has the upper hand at this point, but Carnage fights back, saying that he's going to prove Deadpool wrong, and that he is the master of his own actions. Deadpool says that it sounds like Carnage came here because of him, and that their craziness connects them and all other truly insane people, that Deadpool is Carnage's spirit animal. Carnage lashes out and slices Deadpool's guts out, but he casually scoops them back in and stands up to fight, finding the room empty and Carnage missing. Shriek is still wandering the halls and is attacked by Deadpool Hybrid, with her scream echoing through the asylum. Carnage hears it and says that he'll find her, and that even though he does now believe in the forces guiding his actions, that he could resist it and do what he wanted again, all while seeing messages on the walls and from the inmates about his anger punishing him in the future and warning him not to kill Shriek. Carnage says that the only person that's gonna die tonight is Deadpool, and attacks him in the hall, eviscerating him until he notices that Deadpool used the symbiotes to cover Shriek's body and make her look like Deadpool, and Carnage is enraged that all these unseen forces were trying to punish him for disobeying them, and that he still refuses to listen to them. Carnage then walks right into jail and sits down in a cell. He literally refuses to act until he knows that his actions are his own again, choosing passive resistance as he struggles with these concepts in his mind. He says that once he's his own man again, he'll find Deadpool and make him pay. Deadpool then lets the Mercury team dog and the symbiotes go, telling it to take the symbiotes back to the government, and that the dog deserves better care than Deadpool can give it with his crazy ass life. Deadpool then declares himself the Dr. Phil of the superhero world and decides to keep going after insane people and mind fucking them into submission. And that wraps up Deadpool vs. Carnage. It is a ridiculous, over the top, but very fun book, perfectly in line with both of these characters, and personally I think it's a hilarious concept to have Deadpool's fourth wall breaking just really destroy Carnage's perception of the world. He's such a simple character with such a simple motive, chaos, that it's funny watching him unravel. It was also a great way to bring back Shriek, who overall is such a minor character, but from being in that one important Carnage book has earned herself a place in his personal history. And the Life Foundation symbiotes are always a fun thing to throw in a symbiote book. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and check out the comic history playlist on the channel where you can find every episode of comic history, including tons of other symbiote storylines from Origins origins for almost all of the symbiotes to other great moments in their history. If there's a storyline, character, or origin you'd like to see an episode of Comic History on, go check out our Patreon and donate at patreon.com/rnsentertainment. One of the donation rewards is to commission any story you want, both helping the channel grow and getting content specifically for you. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Roman_RNS, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our gaming channel, RNS Gaming, and I'll see you guys next time.